Okay, hello. Um, we are about to continue with the study. We left off in Genesis 14, verse 19, verse 20. After Lot got captured, Abraham went after Lot with his men, fought, and also returned some of the goods that belonged in the riches for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. So we are going to continue to read forth from there. Let me put my window down. Sorry. All right. So Abraham did a prayer after he returned. In verse 19, we said, he said, then he blessed him and said, Blessed Abraham by the Most High, God, maker of heaven and earth, and praise be Most High, God, who has handed your oppressor over to you. And Abraham gave him a tenth of everything. We continue to verse 21. After that, the king of Sodom said to Abraham, Give me the people, but take the goods for yourself. But Abraham said to the king of Sodom, I raise my hand in an oath to Jehovah, the Most High God, maker of heaven and earth, that I will not take anything that is yours, from a thread to a sandal lace, so that you may not say, I made Abraham rich. I will take nothing except what the young men have already eaten. As for the share of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their share. Verse 15. After this, the word of God, Jehovah came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not fear, Abram. I am a shield for you. Your reward will be very great. Abram replied, Sovereign Lord God, Jehovah, what will you give me, saying that I continue childless, and the one who will inherit my house is a man of Damascus, Eliezer. Abraham added, You have given me no offspring, and a member of my household is succeeding me as heir. But look, Jehovah's word in reply to him say, This man will not succeed you as heir, but your own son will succeed you as heir. And now brought him outside and said, Look up, please, to the heavens and count the stars, if you are able to do so. Then he said to him, So your husband will become. And he put faith in Jehovah, and he counted it to him as righteousness. Then he added, I am Jehovah, who brought you out of Ur, of the Chaldeans, to give you the land as your possession. To this he said, Sovereign Lord Jehovah, how will I know that I will take possession of it? He replied to him, Take for me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. So he took all these and cut them in two, and put each part opposite to the other, but he did not cut up the birds. Then the birds of prey began to descend on the carcass, but Abraham kept driving them away. When the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and a great and frightening darkness descended on him. Then he said to Abraham, Know for certain that your offspring will be foreigners in a land not theirs, and that the people there will enslave them and afflict them for 400 years. But I will judge the nation they will serve, and after that they will go out with many goods. As for you, you will go to your forefathers in peace. You will be buried at a good old age, but they will return here in the fourth generation, because the error of the Ammonites has not yet reached its full measures. When the sun had set and it had become very dark, the smoking furnace appeared, and the fiery torch passed between the pieces. On that day Jehovah made with Abram a covenant, saying, to your offspring I will give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river of Euphrates, the land of Canaanite, the Canaanite, the Cadmonite, the Hittite, and the Perizzite, the Rephaim, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Girgashite, and the Jebusite. Now Abraham's wife Sarai had borne him no children, so she couldn't have kids, but she had an Egyptian servant whose name was Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, please now, Jehovah has prevented me from bearing children. Please have relation with my servant. Perhaps I can have children by means of her. So Abram listened to what Sarah had said. After Abram had lived for 10 years in the land of Canaan, Abram's wife Sarah took her Egyptian servant Hagar and gave her to her husband Abraham's wife. Hmm. So he had relation with Hagar, and she became pregnant. When she realized that she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Ooh, I guess she didn't know what was going on. At this, Sarah said to Abram, the injury done to me is your fault. I was the one who put my servant in your arm. But when she realized that she was pregnant, she began to despise me. May Jehovah judge between me and you. So Abram said to Sarah, look, your servant is under your authority. Do to her whatever you think is best. Then Sarai humiliated her, and she went away from her. Later, Jehovah's angel found her at the spring of waters in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? To this she said, I am running away from my mistress Sarai. Jehovah's angel then said to her, return to your mistress and humble yourself under her hands. Then Jehovah's angel said, I will greatly multiply your offspring, so that they will be too numerous to count. Jehovah's angel added, here you are pregnant, and you will give birth to a son, and you must name him Ishmael. For Jehovah has heard your affliction. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand will be against him, and he will dwell opposite all his brothers. Then she called on the name of Jehovah, who was speaking to her, "You are a God of sight." For she said, "Have I here actually looked upon the one who sees me?" That is why the well was called Bela Reward. It is between the Kadesh and the Bered. So Agar bore to Abraham a son, and Abraham named his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. And Abraham was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to him. Now, this is story of treason. God gave upon his servant Abraham an order saying that he will give him a son, but the wife, I guess, was counting upon who will take over whatever was going to be left behind. Give her servant to the husband without telling her what was the plan. But God also was compassionate toward the servant, made promise to her upon the son that she is to carry. In verse 17, when Abraham was 99 years old, Jehovah appeared to Abraham and said to him, "I am God Almighty. Walk before me and prove yourself faultless. I will establish my covenant between me and you." "I will multiply you very, very much." At this, Abraham fell face down, and God continued to speak with him, saying, "As for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you will certainly become a father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Abram. Your name will become Abraham. I will make you a father of many nations. I will make you very, very fruitful, and I will make you become nations, and kings will come from you. And I will keep my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generation, for an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and to your offspring after you. And I will give to you and to your offspring after you the land in which you lived as a foreigner, the entire land of Canaan, for a lasting possession, and I will be their God. God said further to Abraham, "As for you, you are to keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you throughout their generation. This is my covenant between me and you, that you and your offspring after you will keep. Every male among you must get circumcised. This is my covenant between me and you, that you and your offspring after you will keep. Every male among you must get circumcised. You must circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and I will serve as and it will serve as a sign of the covenant between me and you. Throughout your generations, every male among you, 8 day old, must be circumcised. Anyone who is born in the house, and anyone who is not one of your offspring, and who was purchased with money from a foreigner, slaves, Every man born in your house and every man purchased with your money must be circumcised. And my covenant in your flesh must serve as a lasting covenant, not just really his children and the children before that, but also the men that he purchased, like the slaves, the visitors that has converted, I would say, also should also become part of the covenant between God and Abraham. If any uncircumcised male will not circumcise the flesh of his foreskin, that person must be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. Then God said to Abraham, as for your wife Sarah, you must not call her Sarah because Sarah will become her name. I will bless her and also give you a son by her. I will bless her and she will become nations. King of people will come from her. At this, Abraham fell face down and began to laugh and to say in his heart, will a man 100 years old have a child born to him? And will Sarah, a woman of 90 years old, give birth? So Abraham said to the true God, "O that Ishmael might live before you." To this God said, "Your wife Sarah will definitely bear you a son, and you must name him Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant to his offspring after him. But as regard to Ishmael, I have heard you. Look, I will bless him, and I will make him fruitful, and will multiply him very, very much. He will produce chieftain, and I will make him become a great nation. However, I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this appointed time next year." When God finished speaking with him, he went up from Abraham. Abraham then took Ishmael his son, and all the men born in his house, and everyone he had purchased with money, every male in the household of Abraham, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskin on that very day, just as God had spoken with him. Abraham was 99 years old when he had the flesh of his foreskin circumcised. Circumcision is like part of the Bible. Direction from God to Abraham. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he had the flesh of his foreskin circumcised. On that very day, Abraham was circumcised, and also his son Ishmael. All the men of his household, anyone born in the house, and anyone purchased with money from a foreigner, were also circumcised with him. His servants, his slaves, the people that he has bought, his workers, so now became part of his covenant of God. So the covenant wasn't simply blood related, blood alliance. It was anyone that was part of his life at the moment. Wasn't simply by line, wasn't simply his children and his descendant. God says all that lives with him, anyone who were in his entourage, would cut off their foreskin, get circumcised, and those who did not do so then were not considered to be part of the covenant that would be generated from generation to generation with God. Genesis 18. Afterward, God approached to him among the big tree of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance of the tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up and saw three men standing some distance from him. When he saw them doing standing from that distance, he ran from the entrance of the tent to meet them, and he bowed down to the ground. Then he said, Jehovah, if I have found favor in your eyes, please do not pass by your servant. Please let a little water be brought and have your feet washed, then recline under the tree. Seeing that you have come here to your servant, let me bring a piece of bread so that you may refresh yourself. Then you may go on your way. At this, they say, all right, you may do so as you spoken. So Abraham hurried to the tent to Sarah and said, quick, get 3 measures of fine flour, knead the dough, and make loaves of bread. Next, Abraham went to the herd and chose a tender and good young bull. He gave it to the attendant who hurried to prepare it. He then took butter and milk and the young bull that he had prepared and set the food before them. Then he stood by them under the tree as they were eating. They said to him, where is your wife Sarah? He replied, here in the tent. So one of them continued, I will surely return to you next year at this time. And look, your wife Sarah will have a son. Now Sarah was listening at the tent entrance, which was behind the men. Abraham and Sarah were old. Being advanced in years, Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah began to laugh to herself, saying, after I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I really have displeasure? Then Jehovah said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, am I really going to give birth even though I am old? Is anything too extraordinary to Jehovah? I will return to you next year at this appointed time, and Sarah will have a son. God said to Abraham, is anything too extraordinary for me to do? I will return next year, and your wife will have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. Wouldn't you be afraid? At this, he said, yes, you did laugh. When the men got up to leave and looked down toward Sodom, Abraham was walking with them to escort them. Jehovah said, am I keeping hidden from Abraham what I am going to do? Why Abraham is surely going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by means of him. For I have come to know him in order that he may command his son and his household after him to keep Jehovah's way by doing what is right and just, so that Jehovah may bring about what he has promised concerning Abraham. The covenant was made, but God also wants that Abraham teaches his sons, his servants, his entourage the way of God, to do what is right and keep doing the just thing. And he will keep his promise about his covenant, giving everything. Kings will rise from this generation. We just have to do what is right. God walked among us right here on the earth. Has actually had a meal with his servant, eat at his house, chat along with his other angels, made a promise to his servant that from him pride, a mighty nation, will rise. Then Jehovah said in verse 20, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is indeed great, and their sin is very heavy. I will go down to see whether they are acting according to the outcry that has reached me, and if not, I can get to know it. Then the men left from there and went towards Sodom, but Jehovah remained with Abraham, because there were three visitors, God itself and two other persons, figures. So the two other figures went to Sodom and Gomorrah to make visits and see for themselves what was going on, and God himself remains under the tree with Abraham. So Abraham approached and said, will you really sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous men within the city. Will you then sweep them away and not pardon the place for the sake of the 50 righteous who are inside it? It is unthinkable that you would act in this manner by putting the righteous man to death with the wicked one, so that the outcome for the righteous man and the wicked is the same. It is unthinkable of you. Will the judge of all the earth not do what is right? Then Jehovah said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous men in the city, I will pardon the whole place for their sake. But Abraham again responded, please, here I have resumed to speak to Jehovah, whereas I am dust and ash. Suppose the 50 righteous should lack 5. Because of the 5, will you destroy the whole city? To this he said, I will not destroy it if I find 45. Isn't that a way of begging? But yet again he spoke to him and said, suppose 40 are found there. He answered, I will not do it for the sake of the 40. But he continued, Jehovah, please do not become hot with anger, but let me go on speaking. Suppose only 30 are found there. He answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. But he continued, please, here I have presumed to speak to Jehovah. Suppose only 20 are found there. He answered, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 20. Finally, he said, Jehovah, please do not become hot with anger, but let me speak just once more. Suppose only 10 are found there. He answered, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 10. When Jehovah finished speaking to Abraham, he went his way, and Abraham returned to his place. Well, I guess in the heart of Abraham, he surely knows that there might be something really, really wrong going in Sodom and Gomorrah. he begged as much as he can. The two angels arrived at Sodom by evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the earth. And he said, "Please, my Lord, turn aside, please, into the house of your servant and stay overnight, and have your feet washed. Then you may get up early and travel on your way." To this they say, "No, we will stay overnight in the public square." But he was so insistent with them that they went with him to his house. Then he made a feast for them, and he baked unle- unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they could lie down to sleep, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, from boy to old man, all of them surrounded the house in one mob. And they kept calling out to Lot and saying to him, "Where are the men who came in to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we may have sex with them." Jeez. No wonder, no wonder Abraham was begging so much. Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them. Really? Then Lot went out to them to the doorway and shut the door behind him. He said, "Please, my brothers, do not act wickedly. Please, here I have two daughters who have never had sexual relation with a man. Please let me bring them out to you for you to do to them whatever seems good to you. But do not do anything to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof." What a sacrifice! Oh my God. Ah, my God. He offered his virgin daughters to these wicked people who wanted to have sex with the angels. Well, with God, whether or not he was Jesus, because God was on top of went his way now. Whether or not it was Jesus or archangel. Oh Lord, now I see why Abraham was so stubborn and trying to push so hard, for he knows deep down that this city was going to go down, 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 down. What? Oh Jesus, Jesus, Jesus Christ. What a story. Whew. All right, but do not do anything to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof. At this, they said, "Stand back and and stay added. This long foreigner came to live here, and yet he dares to judge us. Now we are going to do worse to you than to them." And they crowded in and Lot and moved forward to break down the door. So the men reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them, and they shut the door. But this, oh God, they struck the men who were at the entrance of the house with blindness, from the least to the greatest, so that they were themselves out trying to find the doorway. Then the men said to Lot, "Do you have anyone else here? Sons in laws, your son, your daughters, and all your people in the city? Bring out of this place, for we are going to destroy this place, because the outcry against them has indeed grown great. Before Jehovah, so that Jehovah sent out to destroy the city." So Lot went out and began to speak to his son in law, who were to marry his daughters, and kept saying, "Get up, get out of this place, because Jehovah will destroy the city." But to his son in law, he seems to be joking. Oh, well, yeah. Aren't we always pretend saying that we don't believe things? As dawn was breaking, the angel became urgent with Lot, saying, "Get out, take your wife and your two daughters who are here with you, so that you will not be swept away in the error of the city. When he kept lingering, then, because of Jehovah's compassion for him, the man seized hold of his hand and the hand of his wife and the hands of his two daughters, and they brought him out of the stationed him outside the city. So the angels actually take them out, maybe teleported. As soon as they had brought them to the outskirt, he said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, and do not stand still in any part of this district. Escape to the mountainous region, so that you may not be swept away." So they didn't even, their first escape wasn't done by their own hands. God actually took them away. Then Lot said to them, "Not there, please, Jehovah, please now. Your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you are showing great kindness to me by preserving me alive. But I am not able to flee to the mountainous region because I am afraid that disaster may overtake me and I will die. Please now, this town is nearby and I can flee there. It is only a small place. May I please escape there? It is only a small place, then I will survive." So he said to him, "Very well, I will also show you consideration by not overthrowing the town you speak of. Hurry, escape there, because I cannot do anything until you arrive there." That is why he named the town Zoar. The sun had risen over the land when Lot arrived at Zoar. Then Jehovah made it rain sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. It came from Jehovah from the heaven. So he overthrew the city, yes, the entire district, including all the inhabitants of the cities and the plants of the ground. But Lot's wife, who was behind them, began to look back, and she became a pillar of salt. Well, salt because the city was destroyed with sulfur. Now Abraham got up early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before Jehovah. When he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and all the land of the district, he saw quite a sight. There was dense smoke, whew, rising from the land like the dense smoke of a kiln. So when God destroyed the city of the district, God kept Abraham in mind by sending Lot out from the city he overthrew, the city where Lot had been dwelling. So we are going to leave this one here. Now this is a very strong story. Reading it to yourself. Well, we've all heard of this story where God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, but I think sometimes when you read on your own, you get to know how bad things were. Really, so you have three strangers that walk into your town. You decided to, you just going to just, hey, take them or take them here. Let's just have sex with them. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Then you know why the begging was so hard. Then God did not really find 10 people because I think the begging stopped to 10. And so Lot was the son of Abraham's brother, who Lot, he also raised Lot, and the city was divided. Lot take one side, and then he was captured. And after he took Lot, he went on war, saved Lot, come back home. Sodom and Gomorrah, he gave Sodom back there, whatever they took from the other king took from them. And now they were, they continued to do bad things, and that was pretty bad. I mean, for the man to actually decide that he's going to even sacrifice his own daughter to, because he knows they were angels, all right, so he knew that they were men of, they were the the representative of God itself. So he didn't want them. They were still trying to save the earth. When we also saw in Genesis 6 verse 5, as God says, it is because the heart of man is so wicked that their hearts so wicked they will not turn their way. By the age of youth, by their youth, they have turned their way. Their hearts has become so wicked. And because of one man, which was Noah, who was very perfect and worked in the eyes of God, God gave the earth another chance. And now the population has grown so much. Yet you can see from God's prediction, whatever, not prediction because he's God, whatever that thing is, I would not say. It says, Yoga said that man's heart was so wicked, was great on earth, that every inclination and every thought of the heart would be bad at all time. Somehow, this bad thing from the heart cannot be removed, huh? That all from his covenant, he says, Abraham is to teach us the right way so that we can live the right way and do the right thing. We have to make the choice to do the right thing. But if we do not try to change our heart, then our thoughts and our action would definitely be bad. If our heart is dark, if we can't find it in our heart to be compassionate, to find pardon, forgiveness, to do what is right, what will be your thought? What will be your action? So from Genesis 6, verse 5, God has told us it is our heart that we need to change. And here again, even after we were given another chance, after the Nephilim, the fallen angels, and we instead of learning what we learn from them and do the good thing with them, we decided to use what we learn from these angels and having children with the angels that were destroying, killing. They called them the Nephilim, which we saw in Genesis 6 verse 4. Things were as bad as Sodom and Gomorrah, even worse, because it was like God says things were not, he wasn't having it anymore, and he was so sad he wanted to destroy us. He gave us another chance, and you have this town that was so wicked. So now this is another thing, even from time to time, generations for so long ago, that you went to this town, if you were just a stranger, you didn't know where you were, you could get raped. Here they were going to rape the men of God because they were so bad, because their heart was so dark. So with that says, I would say to everyone that would watch this, who are watching this, thank you for coming. And that the mission into this is to remember that in Genesis 6 verse 5, that God has told us. And when God is telling us one thing, it's because he wants us to change our way. It's because he wants, as good father, as good creator, he wants us to do better. Like us as parents, or if you have a parent, your parent is always trying to guide you. So Jehovah has told us he is sad because our heart has turned the other way. Our heart has gone into the dark pits and the whole darkness of all darkness. That is what makes him sad. And that is what is turning us, our action, our thoughts, the way that we behave, the things that we choose to do to each other, that becomes so bad. We do not act properly because our heart is dark. If we do not find the will to choose to do what is right, then we who are representatives of God, we will destroy the earth for these people in Sodom and Gomorrah, because their heart was so dark, they destroyed themselves. They were lost. They did not know how to show compassion. So, with that, we ask that we find within ourselves the willpower. That willpower was given to us upon creation. It is not something that we have to fetch for. We do not have to fight for it. It is something that we have to choose to do from within. So let's all ask that we find the strength to follow our will, to change our, to actually try to do the good thing from the heart, that we on this earth can try our best to live together and to be good representative of God. So with that, in God's wisdom, I say thank you for coming. And next time we will continue with this story after God has created Sodom and Gomorrah. So thank you for coming, and thank you for passing by and listening to this. With the word of God, you learn, you get to know things from then and from now, and how we can turn our way around. This is the purpose of this, to know the source of what exactly that is triggering um, things that we are seeing around. The Bible is a guide. I've read so many places, and I decided that it's huge. There's a lot of book. I said, hey, why not invite people to learn more? For I long to know more. And from this story, I urge myself to learn, to change, and to have my heart even better than I suppose that it is to myself. So have a wonderful evening. May the Lord be with you all, and try to fight within yourself to find the will to do the right thing. God bless you all. I'll see you next Saturday around the same time with the Word of God. Bye.